Hello and welcome to another Beyond Shakespeare exploring session. And today we're sinking our teeth back into the age plays or the metal plays, depending on how you want to name them. They are written by Thomas Heywood. This particular one was printed at London by Nicholas Oakes in 1632. This is the Iron Age. So basically the Siege of Troy and everything around it, part one. Because we like sequels. So reading this play with me today, we have, I just lost my cast list. We have reading Cassandra and a Spartan Lord.
Alan Scott in Suffolk, nowhere near Sparta.
Reading Hector, an ambassador, and Helen, we have
Rachael, actor on the East Coast, sinking my teeth into some steel-cut oats.
Reading Troilus and Menelaus, we have
Hello, Helen Good, reading one young Trojan and one old Greek.
Reading Aeneas, Hecuba, Castor, and Margaretan, we have
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Amisu. I'm an author based in Romford, and today I have all the parts.
Reading Antenor, Oenone, and Pollux, we have
Aliki, Chapple, actually not from very far from Sparta, but currently in Lancashire.
And reading Priam and Diomedes, or Diomed, mostly in the text.
Sarah Blake, reading one old Trojan and one young Greek.
And I'm your host, Eric Karoulla, and I'm pretty much reading everything else, which is Paris, Thersites, and Cressida, as well as the stage directions. So which will be very interesting. If you get confused, please, answers on a comments on a postcard or below this video. So launching into Act 1, Scene 1. Enter King Primus, Queen Hecuba, Hector, Troilus, Aeneas, Diomedes, and lots of other people.
Princes and sons of Priam, to this end we called you to this solemn parleance. There's a divining spirit prompts me still that if we new begin hostility, the Grecians may be forced to make repair of our twice ruined walls, and of the rape done to our sister, fair Hesione.
I am my princely sovereign of your mind, and can by grounded arguments approve your power and potency. What they twice demolished is now with strength and beauty reared again. Your kingdom grown more populous and rich, the youth of Troy irregular and untamed, covetous of war and martial exercise. From you and silver-tressed Hecuba, 50 fair sons are lineally derived. All Asia's kings are in your love and league, their royalties as of your empire held. Hector and Hector's brothers are of power to fetch your sister from the heart of Greece, where she remains embraced by Telamon.
Aeneas, your advice assents with us. How stand our sons unto these wars inclined?
In mine opinion, we have no just cause to raise new tumults that may live in peace. War is a fury quickly conjured up, but not so soon appeased.
What juster cause when the whole world takes note to our disgrace of this our Troy twice racked by Hercules?
And fair Hesione, raped hence to Greece, where she still lives, cooped up in Salamine.
Troy was twice racked, and Troy deserved that rack. The valiant, half divine-bred Heracles redeemed this town from black mortality, and my bright aunt from death when he surcharged the virgin fed sea monster with his club. For my own grandsire, great Laomedon denied the hero. Both the meed proposed and most ingrateful shut him from the gates. Troy therefore drew just ruin on itself. 'Tis true, our aunt was borne away to Greece, who with more justice might transport her hence than he whose prize she was. Born Telamon for venturing first upon the walls of Troy, Alcides gave her to the Salamine Duke. Detaining her, whom keeps he but his own? Were she my prisoner, I should do the like. By Jove, she's worth the keeping.
Then of course she must be worth the fetching.
Fetch her that list. My reverend king and father, if you pursue this expedition by the untainted honor of these arms that live emblazoned on my burnished shield, it is without good cause. And I divine of all your flourishing line, by which the gods have rectified your fame above all kings, not one shall live to meet your sepulchre, or trace your funeral heralds to the tombs of your great ancestors. Oh, for your honor, take not up just arms.
Prince Hector's words will draw on him the imputation of fear and cowardice.
Fie, brother Hector, if our aunt's rape and Troy's destruction be not revenged. There's several blemishes the aged hand of time can never wipe from our succession.
'Twill be considered that O King Priam's sons, save one, were willing and forward to revenge them on the Greeks, only that Hector durst not.
Ha! Durst not, didst thou say? Effeminate boy, go get you to your sheep hook and your scrip. Thou look'st not like a soldier. There's no fire within thine eyes, nor quills upon thy chin. Tell me I dare not? Go, rise, get you gone. Thou'rt fitter for young Oenone's company than for a bench of soldiers. Here comes one. Antenor is returned.
Enter Antenor.
Welcome, Antenor. What's the news from Greece?
News of dishonor to the name of Priam, your highness' sister, fair Oenone, esteemed there as a strumpet and no queen. After complaint, when I proposed your majesty would fetch her thence perforce, had you but seen with what disdainful pride and bitter taunts they tossed my threats. 'Twould have inflamed your spleen with more than common rage. Never was princess so basely used, never ambassador with such dishonor sent from prince's court, as was then from that of Telemon's, of Agamemnon's, and from the Spartan kings.
I shall not die in peace if these disgraces lie unrevenged.
By Jove will fetch her thence, or make all populous Greece a wilderness. Paris a hand, we are friends. Now Greece shall find, and thou shalt know what mighty Hector dares, when all the united kings in arms shall rue this base dishonor done to Priam's blood.
Here, generous sir, my dream and Ida mount, but beneath the shadow of a cedar sleeping, celestial Juno, Venus, and the goddess born from the brain of mighty Jupiter, these three present me with a golden bowl, on which was writ, Detur pulcherime, give it to the fairest. Juno proffers wealth, scepters, and crowns, saith she will make me rich. Next steps forth Pallas with a golden book, saith, it reach it me, I'll teach the literature, knowledge, and arts, make thee of all most wise. Next smiling Venus come with such a look able to ravish mankind, thus bespake me, make the ball mine, the fairest queen that breathes, I'll in requital cast into thine arms. How can I stand against her golden smiles? But when beauty promised beauty, she prevailed. To her I gave the prize, with which she mounted like a star to earth, from earth, shot up to heaven. Now if in Greece, as some report, be ladies peerless for beauty, wherefore might not Paris by Venus' aid sail thence to Grecia, and quit the rape of fair Hesione, by stealing thence the queen, most beautiful that feeds upon the honey of that hair.
That amorous goddess, born upon the wave, assist thee in thy voyage. We will rig a royal fleet to waft thee into Greece. Aeneas, with our son Deiphobus, and other lords, shall bear thee company. Think our sons Hector and Troilus of Paris' expedition.
As an attempt that heavens have cause to prosper, Go, brother Paris. If thou bringst a queen, Hector will be her champion. And let's see what Greek dare fetch her hence.
Straight give order to have his fleet made ready.
Enter Cassandra with her hair about her ears.
Stay, Priam. Paris, cease. Stay, Trojan peers, to plot your universal overthrow. What hath poor Troy deserved, that you should kindle flames to destroy it?
What intends Cassandra?
To quench bright burning Troy, to secure thee, to save old Priam and his 50 sons, the royalest issue that e'er king I enjoyed, to keep the reverend hairs of Hecuba from being torn off by our own sad hands.
Cassandra's mad.
You are mad. All Troy is mad, and rails before its ruin.
What would my sister?
Stay this bold youth, my brother, who by water would sail to bring fire which will burn all Troy. Stay him, oh stay him, ere these golden roofs belt over our heads, before these glorious turrets be burnt to ash. Ere Simwa's streams run with blood royal, and Scamander plain, in which Troy stands, be made a sepulchre to bury Troy and Trojans.
Away with her. Some false dividing spirit, envying the honour we shall gain from Greece, would treble our designments.
Royal sir, Cassandra is a vestal prophetess, and consecrate to Pallas, oft inspired, and lend her gracious audience.
So let our aunt be still a slave in Greece, and we, your sons, be held as cowards.
Let Antenor's wrongs be basely swallowed, and this name of Troy be held a word of scorn.
Then let Troy burn. Let the Greeks clap their hands and warm themselves at this bright bonfire. Dreamed not Hecuba the night before this fatal youth was born, that she brought forth a firebrand?
'Tis most true.
And when King Priam to the priest revealed this ominous dream, he with the gods consulted, and from the oracle did this return, that the child born should stately Ilion burn.
And well the prophet guessed, for my desire to visit Greece burns with a quenchless fire. Not from this flaming brand shall I be free, till I have left rich Troy and Sparta see.
Yet Hecuba, ere thou thy Priam loose, and Priam, ere thou loose thy Hecuba,
Away with her.
why speaks not in this case Andromache? Thou shalt lose Hector, who's yet thine. Why, good Aeneas, dost thou speech forbear? Thou hopest in time another Troy to rear, when this is sacked, and therefore thou standest mute, all struck with silence. None assist my suit.
Force her away and lay her fast in hold.
Then Troy, no Troy, but ashes, and a place where once a city stood. Poor Priam, thou that shalt leave fatherless 50 fair sons, and this thy fruitful queen a desolate widow, and Ilium now no palace for a king, but a confused heap of twice burnt brick. They that thy beauty wondered shall admire, to see thy towers defaced with Greekish fire.
And exit Cassandra, yes.
Thou art no Sibyl, but from fury speaks, not inspiration. We regard thee not. Come, valiant sons, we'll first prepare our ships, and with a royal fleet well rigged to sea, seek just revenge for fair Hesione.
Exit Omnes, leaving Paris. To him enter Oenone, who in his going out plucks her back.
No, you not me.
Who art thou?
View me well. What I am, my looks and tears shall teach thee.
Elon, what brought thee hither?
To see Ida bare of her tall cedars, to see shipwrights square the trunks of new-felled pines, asking the cause. So many hatchets, hammers, ploughs, and saws were thither brought. Regain me thus to greet with these tall cedars. We must build a fleet for Paris, who in that must sail to Greece to fetch a new wife thence.
And my fair Oenone know that they told truth, for 'tis decreed, even by the gods' behest, that I should speed upon this new adventure. The gods all that made me judge to give the golden bull. Hark, hark, the sailors cry, aboard, aboard. The wind blows fair. Farewell.
Hear me one word, by our first love, by all our amorous kisses, courtings, embraces, and 10,000 blesses, I conjure thee that thou in Troy mayst stay.
They cry aboard and Paris must away.
What needst thou plough the seas to seek a wife, having one here? To hazard thy sweet life, seeking a strumpet through war's fierce alarms, have so kind a wife lodged in thine arms.
Sweet Oenone, stay me not, unclasp thine hold.
Not for Troy's crown or all the sun god's gold. Canst thou thy sweet life endanger and leave thine own wife to seek out a stranger?
I can. Farewell.
Yet a little stay.
Let go thine hold, or I shall force my way.
Oh, do but look on me yet once again. Though now a prince, thou wast an humble swain, and then I was thine Oenone. Oh, sad fate! I crave thy love, I covet not thy state. Still, I am Oenone, still thou Paris are, the self-same man, but the self-same heart.
Untie, or I shall break thy charming band. Neptune assist my course, thou Jove my hand. Exit Paris.
Most cruel, most unkind. Hast thou thus said the night before thou hast my maidenhead? I had been free to choose, and thou to wife. Not widowed now, my husband still alive.
And scene one. Technically, there's no scene divisions, but yeah, we need that one, I think, because we're going to jump to Greece later. Any thoughts on this scene? Or, well, like, sort of any questions about sort of, oh, sorry, Aliki, because yeah.
I mean, it's very efficiently done, right? It lays out the cause, the background, what's going on, Cassandra's prophecy. They're ignoring the whole Oenone and Paris thing. It just bangs it all in there pretty quickly, I think. It was fun, I thought. There was some nice versing to it. Nothing hugely inspired, but it was nice to speak.
Sarah, yeah. We can't hear you.
I am not very cleared up with the original material of. I mean, I read the Iliad and a couple of others when I was at uni, but it was a long time ago and I don't really remember. But I don't remember Paris being married. Is this something that comes up a lot in the early in the original classical texts, and it's just been kind of forgotten, or does it not come up very often? Because this is the first I've managed to get to the grand old age of, and I never actually realised he already had a wife.
I think Helen has a response to that.
We have done a play of it with Paris as a shepherd, because he was thought to be dangerous to the royal house of Troy. He was sent away to be a shepherd, and that's where he found and married. It's a sort of Judgment of Paris play. Can anyone remember the title?
I don't think I was there
Judgment
for
of
that
Paris.
Was it?
I believe so.
Is that the one where Colin dies?
Yes, I think so.
Poor Colin.
Yeah.
Oh, Colin! No, wait, I do remember Colin. I don't remember Paris, but I remember Colin.
Well, Colin was a much more interesting character than Paris, even though he was the hero.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but that's
Okay.
where he acquired.
Aliki, sorry.
So, I think it's in the myth, but it's one of these things where there are several different versions of the story, and basically we only know the Iliad mostly. And that's not that concerned with the beginnings. It's much more concerned with those final few weeks or whatever it was at the siege of Troy.
I figured she can't be like terribly like she can't be a terribly well-known figure, because I mean, and okay, Google is not by any means an arbiter of anything really, but I just Googled, I don't even know how to pronounce her name, Oenone.
Eone.
I just Googled it and I got, did you mean onion ring?
Yeah, okay, but that's terrible. I mean,
So
I Googled Paris married and I got Paris Hilton getting married.
Yeah, so yeah.
But I mean, she's not
yeah.
like I mean, I to be perfectly honest, my main knowledge of Greek myths comes through art, through looking at paintings of with classical subjects and then reading about the myths to find out what's going on in the paintings. And I have never come across this character, so I just find it really interesting that she's here and she's right at the beginning of the play, and I assume she's not going to feature that much, but we actually have this really affecting little scene where she actually gets to speak her piece. You know, it's quite, I found that quite surprising.
It was only yesterday that we read Troilus, but she was in that, wasn't she?
Was she?
Well, I've just found her in Greek legends and myths, where she's a nymph, a daughter of a river god, daughter of the river that flows through the Trojan territories. So,
Scamander.
No, this is the
Or
river
Xanthus,
Kevrin. It's given here.
Oh yeah. There are various rivers in the area, but yeah, there's
So
Xanthus
she
and-
met him on Mount Ida when he was a shepherd, and he was very beautiful, everybody says. So all the women are always falling in love with him for no reason, because he is a... Never mind, we'll find out more as the play progresses.
Well, kudos to Heywood anyway for putting her in, because I just think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, also, she's also in the BBC version, I think, or something. I mean, one of the docu-series / yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, not docu-series, just like a series on the myth as well. Helen.
Yeah, just before we move on, I think it's interesting that this really deserves a chapter in one of these books that people are always writing, How Wars Begin. Because they were fairly calm about the thing until they discovered that her aunt wasn't being a queen. She was treated as a strumpet.
Yeah.
It's all about honor and perception.
Of course. Yeah. Except, it's not, but, Troy happens to be in a strategic position as well. But we don't, that doesn't matter in mythology.
Yeah, that's
No.
not part of it.
Anyway, any other thoughts before we move on? Okay, Act 1, Scene 2. Enter King Menelaus, King Diomedes, Thersites, a lord ambassador with servants. Attendants.
King Diomedes, Sparta is proud to see you. Your coming at this time's more seasonable, in that we have employment for your wisdom and royal valor.
The Cretan sceptre, now in controversy, as this ambassador hath late informed, despising that usurping hand, which long hath against law and justice swayed and borne it, offers it self to your protection. Is it not so, my lord?
You truly understand our embassy.
Menelaus,
What saith Thersites?
the heaven hath many stars in it, but no eyes, and cannot see desert. The goddess Fortune is hoodwinked. Why else should she proffer thee another crown that hath one? Grand Sir Jove, what a huge heap of business shalt thou have, having another kingdom. Being in Crete, Sparta will go to rack. Being in Sparta, Crete will to ruin. To have more than these, such a bright lass as Helen. Helen, oh, must have an eye to her too. Fie. Poor man, how thou'lt be puzzled.
Why thinks Thersites my bright Helen's beauty is not with her fair virtues equalized?
Yes, I think so, and Helen is an ass, but thou believes so too.
Thersites is a railer.
No, I disclaim it. I'm a counselor. I have known a fellow matched to a fair wife that hath had ne'er a kingdom. Thou hast two to look to, scarce a house, thou hast now many palaces. He scarce a page, and thou 1,000 servants. Yet he having no more, yet had too much to look to one fair wife.
Were not the king well grounded in the virtues of his queen, thy words, Thersites, might set odds betwixt them.
My Helen, therein I am happiest. No, Diomed, her beauty I prefer before the crowns of Sparta and of Crete. Music, I know my lady then is coming.
Music within.
To give kind welcome to King Diomed, strew in her way sweet powders, burn perfume, and where my Helen treads, no feet presume.
For better strew horn shavings. Enter Helen with waiting gentlemen and servants.
'Tis told me this ambassador doth stay to take my husband, my dear lord, away.
True, Helen, 'tis a kingdom calls me hence.
Kingdom, hath your Helen such small grace that you prefer a kingdom for her face? You value me too cheap, and do not know the worth and value of the face you owe.
I'd rather have a good cup's face.
Theseus, that in my non-age did assail me, and being too young for pastime, thence did hail me. He, to have had the least part of your bliss, oft preferred me a kingdom for a kiss. You sir fight in your pleasures, swim in sport, but sir, from henceforth I shall keep you short.
Fair queen, 'tis honour calls him hence away.
What's that to Helen, if she'll have him stay? Say I should weep at parting, which I fear some for 10 kingdoms would not have a tear fall from his Helen's eye. But he's unkind, and cares not though I weep my bright eyes blind.
Great king, we have discovered from the shore a gallant fleet of ships that with full sail make towards the port.
What number?
Some 22 sail.
Discover them more amply and make good the haven against them. 'Tis till we know the intent of their arrive.
My royal lord, I shall.
Ambassador, this business once blown o'er, you shall receive your answer instantly.
You shall not go and leave your Helen here. Can I a kingdom govern in your absence, and guide so rude a people as yours is? How shall I do, my lord, when you are gone? So many bleak, cold nights to lie alone? Ye have used me so to fellowship in bed, that should I leave it, I should soon be dead. Truth, I shall never endure it.
Oh, my sweet Helen, was never king blessed with so chaste a wife?
Enter the Spartan lord again.
The news, whence was their fleet?
From Troy,
The general
Priam's son,
and their expedition.
to seek adventures and strange lands abroad. And though now weather beat, yet braver men, more rich in jewels, costlier arrayed, or better featured, nay, I beheld, especially the prince, their general, Paris of Troy, one of King Priam's sons.
Braver than these our Lacedaemons are.
Madam, by much.
How is the prince of Troy to Menelaus, mighty Spartan's king?
Prince Menelaus is my sovereign, madam. But might I freely speak without offence, excepting Menelaus never breathed a braver gallant than the Trojan prince.
What entertainment shall we give these strangers?
What? But the choice that Lacedaemon yields. If they come brave, our bravery let us show, that what our Sparta yields, their Troy may know. Let them not say they found us poor and bare, or that our Grecian ladies are less fair than theirs. Give them occasion to relate at their return how we exceed their stare.
Helen hath well advised, and for the best her counsel with our honour doth agree. All Sparta's pomp is for the Trojans free.
Oh, had I known their landing one day sooner, that Helen might have trimmed up her attire against this meeting, then my radiant beauty, I doubt not, might in Troy be termed as fair, as through all Greece I am reputed rare.
A flourish. Enter Paris, Aeneas, Deiphobus, Antenor, Menelaus, and Diomedes embrace Paris and the rest, and Paris turns from them and kisseth Helen. Always she with her hand puts him back.
'Tis not the Spartan fashion thus to greet upon the lips when royal strangers meet. I know not what your Asian courtship is. O Jove, how sweetly doth this Trojan kiss.
Where with a stranger lady, though unknown, that's practiced in no fashion save his own. He that hath his faith professed ne'er offends, nor can he injure that no wrong intends.
To kiss me, why before so many eyes the king could do no more. Would fortune bring this stranger there where I have met the king?
Patience, sweet Helen. Trojans, welcome all. You shall receive the princeliest entertain Sparta can yield you. But some late affairs about the Cretan scepter calls us hence. That business once determined, we are yours. In the meantime, fair Helen, beat your charge to make their welcome in my absence large.
And they all go off with a flourish, leaving only Helen and Paris. O Jove, my dream, sweet Venus, aid my prayer and keep thy word. Behold a face more fair than thou thyself canst show. This is the same thou promised me, Ida, this I claim. Give me this face, fair Venus, and that's all I'll ask in guerdon of the golden bowl.
What rare metal is this Trojan made, that one poor kiss hath power so to persuade? Here at my lips the sweetness did begin, and since hath passed through all my powers within. Oh, kiss me if thou lovest me once again. I feel the first kiss thrill through every vein.
Queen, I must speak with you.
Must?
Helen, I have but two ways to take, to speak or die. Grant my tongue pardon then, or turn your head and say you will not, and so strike me dead.
Live and say on. But if your words offend, if my tongue can destroy, you're near your end.
O Jove, that I had now an angel's voice, as you an angel's shape have, that my words might sound a sphere like music in your ear. That Jove himself, whom I must call to witness, would now stand forth in person to approve. What I now speak, Helen, Helen I love. Chide me, I care not. Tell your husband do. Fearless of death, behold, I boldly woo. For let me live, bright Helen, to enjoy. Or never let me never back resail to Troy. For you I came, your fame hath hither driven me, whom golden Venus hath by promise given me. I loved you ere I saw you by your fame. Report of your rare beauty to Troy came, but more than brute can tell, or fame emblazoned, are these divine perfections that I gaze on.
Insolent stranger, is my name so light abroad in Troy, that thou at the first sight should hope to strumpet us?
Since we're here, any thoughts while we're here? I can see a lot of activity in the chat since Rachael is sort of being coughing or something. So yeah, any thoughts?
I think there were some nice asides there from both Paris and Helen, and then that lovely little bit when they're left alone and each of them tells the audience what they think of the other before they speak.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, he kissed me, oh my god. It feels very teenage kind of in a way, which is, or yeah.
Well, they would be. I mean, Paris is the youngest of Priam's sons, and how old can Helen be?
Yeah, true. Sarah?
Aliki and I were just chatting in the chat. It's nice to see Helen get some interiority. You know, we actually do get her thoughts. We get her thoughts and feelings on things. And okay, it's just on the fact that Paris is a damn hot kisser, but it's still nice to see because, like, quite often she doesn't get any dialogue at all. And then when she does, it's very rarely anything that you wouldn't expect from, oh, this is Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Now let's focus on the battle. Yeah, you know. So it's actually, you know, she's been painted here as a real three-dimensional woman, and I kind of love those speeches she had with Menelaus, because that's exactly, if you and I would not know what this is like to experience, but if you were a woman who, you know, literally had hundreds of men desperate for you, and you'd been used to having that kind of attention all through your life, and then you finally pick one and marry him, and then he goes off to battle and ignores you, I can imagine this is kind of the sort of psychological journey you might go through. Like, you know, she's a very human Helen. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Is Rachel? Are you okay? You okay to keep going? Okay. And now cut back into insolent stranger. Yes.
Insolent stranger, is my name so light abroad in Troy that thou at the first sight shouldst hope to strumpet us? Thinks Priam's son, the Spartan queen, can be so easily won? Because once Theseus ravished us from hence, and did to us a kind of violence, follows it therefore we are of such price, that stolen hence once, we should be ravished twice.
That Theseus stole you hence, by heaven I praise him, and for the act I to the skies will raise him. That he returned you back, by Jove, I wonder. Had I been Theseus, he that should asunder, that parted us and snatched you from my bed. First from my shoulders should have taken this head. Oh, that you were the prize of some great strife, and he that wins might claim you as his wife. Yourself should find, and all the world should see, Helen a prize alone ordained for me.
I am not angry. Who can be angry? I am not angry. Who can angry be with him that loves her? They that Paris see, and hears the wonders and rare deeds you boast, and warlike spoils in which you glory most, by which you have obtained amongst soldiers grace, none can believe you that beholds your face. They that this lovely Trojan see will say, he was not made for war, but amorous plays.
Love amorous Paris, then.
My fame to endanger.
I can be secret, lady.
And a stranger. Say I should grant thee love, as thou shouldst climb my long-wished bed. If at the appointed time the wind should alter and blow fair for Troy, thou must break off in midst of all thy joy.
Not for great Sparta's crown or Asia's treasure that exceeds Sparta's would I lose such pleasure.
Would it were come to that?
Your husband Menelaus hither bring, compare our shapes, our youth and everything, make you judges, wrong me if you can. Your needs must say I am the proper man.
I must confess that too.
Then love me, lady.
Had you then set sail, when my virginity and bed to enjoy 1,000 gallant princely suitors came? Had I beheld thee first, I here proclaim, your features should have borne me from the rest. You come too late and covet goods possessed.
I came from Helen, Helen's love I crave, Helen I love and Helen I must have. Or in this province where I vent my moans, I'll beg a tomb for my exiled bones. Then we have a flourish, enter, Menelaus, Diomedes, Thersites with the Spartan lords, Aeneas, Diomedes, and so on and so forth, and Antenor, and so on and so forth, bringing in a banquet.
Now, Prince of Troy, our business being o'er, this day in Lacedaemon you shall feast. Paris, we are proud of such a princely guest.
That every man is born to his own fate. Now it rains horns, let each man shield his pate.
This royalty extended to the welcome of Priam's son is more than Asia's king would yield unto the greatest prince of Greece. What is this Paris whom you honor so?
Why asks my queen?
May not this proud, this beauty vaunting Trojan in a smooth brow hide black and rugged treason?
He, such a one, rather a giddy brain, a formal traveller. King Diomed, your censure of this Trojan.
Capering, carpet knight, a cushion lord, one that hath staled his courtly tricks at home, and now got leave to publish them abroad, did to a stranger prince. It could not, though, leaven my zeal of you. Speak the fairest queen that ever spake. This night we shall agree to consecrate to pleasure and delights. For husband left me charge I should enjoy all that the court can yield. If all, then you I would not for the world, but you should do all that the king your lord commands you to. Your king and husband you sin doubly still, when you assent not to obey his will. Speak, beauteous queen? No? Then let it may be she means by silence to accord with me. I'll try that presently. Lend me your hand. 'Tis this I want, and by the king's command you are to let me have it. More than this.
And he kisses her.
I want your lips to help me make a kiss.
Oh, heaven.
Oh, love, a joy of bubble measure. To touch these lips is more than heavenly pleasure.
Beshrew your amorous rhetoric that did prove my husband's will commanded me to love. For but for that injunction, Paris, no, I would not yield such favors to bestow on any stranger. But since he commands, you may take more than either lips or hands. Do I not blush, sweet stranger? If I break the laws of modesty, think that I speak, but with my husband's tongue. For I say still, I would not yield, but to obey his will.
This night then, without all suspicion, the ravishing pleasures of your royal bed, you may accord to Paris, bitter Thersites, King Diomed, and your servants may suppose by my late counterfeit distemperature that I aim at no such happiness. Alas, I am a puny courtier, a weak brain, a brain-sick young man, but divinest Helen when we get to safe to Troy.
To Troy?
Yes, queen, by all the gods it is decreed that I should bear you hither. Priam knows it, and therefore purposely did rig this fleet to waft me hither. He and Hecuba, my 49 brothers, princes all of ladies and bright virgins infinite, will greet us in the road of Tenedos. Then be resolved, for I will cast a plot to bear you safe from hence.
This Trojan prince wills more than any prince of Greece dares plead, and yet I have no power to say him nay. Well, Paris, I beshrew you with my heart, that ever you came to Sparta, by my joy Queen Helen lies, longs to be at Troy. Yet use me as you please. You know you have my dearest love, and therefore cannot crave what I'll deny. But if reproach and shame pursue us, on you, Paris, light the blame. I'll wash my hands of all, nor will I yield but by compulsion to your least demand. Yet if in lieu of my kings entertain, you bid me to a feast aboard your ship, and when you have me there, unknown to me, hoist sail, weigh anchor, and bear out to sea. I cannot help it. 'Tis not in my power to let fall sails, or strive with stretching oars to row me back again. This you may do, But sooth, friend Paris, he not yield thereto.
You shall then be compelled. On me let all the danger waiting on this practice fall. Enter Spartan Lord.
Castor and Pollux, your two princely brothers, are newly landed, and tomorrow next, purpose for Lacedaemon.
On their approach, delay my plot to escape with Paris. I have it. You, sir, for some special reason their coming keep concealed. But when tomorrow you shall perceive me near the waterport, even when thou seest me ready to take barge, you apprehend me.
Gracious Queen, I do.
Take that farewell. Now, my fair princely guest, all that belongs to you is to invite Queen Helen aboard your ship tomorrow.
Sparta's mirror, will you vouchsafe to a poor wandering prince so much of grace? Will your high majesty deign the acceptance of an homely banquet aboard his weather-beaten bark?
No, friend. The king my husband is from Sparta gone, and I, till his return, must needs keep home. Urge me not, I entreat. It is in vain. Get me aboard. I'll never turn back again.
Nor shall you, lady. Sparta nor all Greece shall fetch you thence, but Troy standeth high on terms with Greece, as Greece hath stood with Troy. And they exit. There are some lines that seem misattributed. And Aliki.
There's some lines that seem misattributed. Clearly the kiss was between Paris and Helen, not between Diomedes and Helen. But also that there's a weird transition where they seem to be by themselves, Paris and Helen. Like there's a bit of text missing to take us from a public scene to a private one.
Yeah, sorry, I thought that as well, because it's one thing having a little chat in the background after Menelaus says to Diomedes, what do you think? And it's quite another doing what they do. I mean, there's got to be something.
Well, it could be, sorry, Helen, and then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is it's all the banquet's fault. Was that what you were going to say, Eric?
No, I was going to say there's probably an aside where you've got like sort of like we had with various can't remember now. It was one of the Johnson plays anyway, where people kept coming in and like sort of they were all on stage at the same time, but they were kind of in different groups. So it was like zooming in and zooming out again.
I mean, my feeling is that the banquet has come on and everybody's busy filling their plates and milling about. So two people can quite easily, at the front of the stage, exchange a conversation, and other people come and go.
Aliki.
That's really not working for me. I think we've missed some plot. I think by the time Paris and Helen have that discussion, Menelaus has left. Not just the stage, but Sparta, because she says he has.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make sense. It must be like sort of the scenes are jumbled or something, but yeah. Anyway,
yes, he doesn't have a departure point, does he?
No.
But you're right, he must.
Yeah, it must be that this part comes up before the exit all except Paris and Helen kind of. I don't know. Anyway, any other thoughts, since we do have to move on, because it is quite a weird sort of, let me kiss you, and she's like, oh no, you cannot kiss me, and then yes, let me kiss you, and yeah, sorry, Helen.
I love the way she says, invite me onto your boat, and he immediately does, and she then says, oh no, I can't do that, because she's making all sorts of plans and bribing officials and generally scheming and plotting, and he's just doing as he's told. I mean, this is a very active Helen.
Yeah. Rachael, since you've been sorry, Sarah. I was going to say just since you've been reading, any thoughts? But yeah, Sarah, then Rachael, if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, She is an active Helen, and I also find her intentions quite interesting because they're ambiguous. And again, Helen is not normally a character who is portrayed as being ambiguous. So it makes her more complex and interesting because that whole little thing that Helen just laid out really entertainingly. It's like, invite me on your ship? No. Yes, go on then. No, I can't possibly. I mean, you can take that several ways. You can take it as like, yes, she's being a minx, she's scheming. She's maybe laying plans to escape from her marriage, but she's not wanting to reveal them yet. But also, it equally could just be that she's testing herself. It's that thing of like, you don't know how you're going to react to something till you hear it out loud or till it actually happens. And it could be that here she's sort of saying, oh, go on, do it. And then when he does, she's like, oh my God, no, or not. The fact is we don't know, but there's more than one way to interpret that, which is so refreshing for a Helen character.
Yeah. Helen, any thoughts?
Well, I thought we were going for Rachael.
Yeah, but
she read it.
Yes, exactly. Rachael, any thoughts?
I really don't know because she's got a lot going on, so it's hard to pin down at the moment what's going on with her. I mean, she's protecting herself, making sure she doesn't get caught up, trying to not get caught up in whatever web she's laying. But it's interesting, and what was it, the play we read with Greg that we didn't film anything, or we didn't record anything. That one, it's like kind of like that. I kind of see you could bring the humor from that into these scenes a little bit.
That was Euripides' Helen.
Yeah. Yeah. Helen.
Yeah, the way I see it, she is deceiving a number of people at the same time. And she's got a lot of balls in the air. She's kept secret the fact that her brothers have arrived, but she's using the fact that her brothers have arrived as a means of getting down to the ships. That's plan A. She is establishing that she is a very modest and chaste wife because she is refusing to go on board ship while her husband is away. This also means that if she does end up on the ship, everybody will say, oh, she didn't mean to go, she was abducted, it's not her fault. I mean, I think she's got a whole load, she's got an in-depth plot.
Yeah,
and nobody else knows what on earth is going on except her and Thersites, but Thersites thinks badly of everybody. He's the sort of Cassandra of the court, in that everybody's heard him before and nobody takes any notice.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But yeah, Helen has layers. Paris is just like, oh, please. Yeah, whereas, sort of, he doesn't really have he knows what he wants and he's going to get it, basically. Anyway, any other thoughts? Because we have to move on. I mean, before we move on, rather. Okay, Act 1, Scene 3, enter the Spartan Lord.
This is the waterport. The Queen's royal guest hath bound me to attendance, till the prince and she be ready to take water. Methinks in this there should be some trick or other. She was once stolen away by Theseus, and this a gallant smooth-faced prince. The king's from home, the queen's but a woman, the Trojan ships new trimmed, the wind stands fair, and the sailors all ready aboard, sweetmeats and wine, good words and opportunity, and indeed not what, if both parties be pleased. But pleased or not, the music gives warning. Are they not now upon their entrance?
Enter in state Paris, Helen, Diomedes, Thersites, Aeneas, Antenor, Deiphobus, and lots of other people with attendants.
Health to your majesties, your princely brothers. Castor and Pollux, being within 2 leagues of this great city, come to visit you.
My brothers stolen upon us unawares. Let me entreat thee, royal Diomed, and you, Thersites, do me so much grace as give them friendly meeting.
Queen, we shall.
They exit.
Our entertainment shall be given aboard, where I presume they shall be welcome guests to princely Paris.
As to yourself, fair queen.
Set forwards then.
We'll hoist up sail, ne'er to return again, and exit the Trojans with a great shout. I think we should run the scenes together because this is a very short scene. So Act 1, Scene 4. Enter Castor, Pollux, Diomedes, and Thersites.
Our brother Menelaus gone for Crete?
Our love to see him makes us lose much time. Yet all our labor is not vainly spent, since we shall see our sister.
And enter the Spartan lord in haste.
Princes, the king's betrayed, all Greece dishonoured, the queen borne hence. The Trojans have weighed anchor, and with prosperous gale they bear from hence, shouting and hurling up their caps for joy. They cry farewell to Greece, amain for Troy.
The queen born hence with that smooth traitor Paris. See, princes, with what pride they have advanced the arms of Troy upon their waving pendants.
Rage not, but let's resolve what's to be done.
Let some ride post to Crete for Menelaus.
That'll be my charge.
Call after him to sea.
That will my brother Castor and myself, and perish there or bring my sister back.
Princes, bit so, and fairly may you speed, whilst I to Agamemnon, great Achilles, Ulysses, Nestor, Ajax, Idamean, and all the kings and dukes of populous Greece relate the wrongs done by this ravisher. Part, and be expeditious.
And they exit several ways. I smelt the sea rat ere he came ashore by this is known Menelaus trees, and made a huge hole in it. Ship diet and pleaseth above all his palace banquets. Much good it'll do them. Much good do it them. Then they are at it without grace. By this both bear cuckold. No subject with that name be sorry, since sovereigns may be such in all their glory. And thus ends Act 1. Any thoughts? I mean, aside from that great line about, I smelt the sea rat and made a huge hole in the cheese. Come on. Yeah, sorry, Sarah.
There's just like a couple of great phrases in there that I'm gonna start using in everyday speech. One was I smelt this sea rat, which is just fantastic. And the other one was cushion lord, which we didn't mention earlier, but it was just like this play's got some really quite hilarious little phrases in it.
Aliki, and then
I like how we were sort of bracketed with the Spartan lords. Oh, well, what's all this about then? She is cute. Gosh, I don't know. And then this, I smelled the sea rat ere he came ashore. These very vernacular and not versed speeches telling us what's really going on. Great.
And also so not at all subtle. It's like he's knowing Menelaus cheese, ew, but also kind of cool. It's a great way of expressing it, I guess. Alan.
Yeah, I must admit I hadn't picked up until really just now that the Spartan Lord is actually almost performing the role of chorus in terms of being the exposition monkey, to try and make sure the audience are keeping up with at least some of the plot.
Yeah, and also possibly how they're meant to react, like, oh no, and then sort of, oh my, yeah, I know.
But I hadn't picked up on that until just recently. I probably should have picked up on it earlier.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to notice though, like at speed as well. I mean, while we're reading on, it's a cold read. I mean, that's what I mean. Any other thoughts before we move into Act 2? I mean, we've laid the groundwork now, so now we know sort of what's they've gone over to Sparta and now they're coming back to Troy, and yeah, there's a lot of traveling going on. So Helen,
what happened to Auntie? They were
Auntie
supposed
is
to be
forgotten.
rescuing Auntie.
Yeah,
that was the purpose of this trip.
They forgot her though, I think. Maybe
Nobody really cares about Auntie.
she was a pretext. Yeah.
I mean, they aren't even saying we'll take Helen in exchange for Auntie.
That
Somebody
might come up
remind me
later, I
what
think.
Auntie's name is.
Hesione. She's
Right.
Priam's sister, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she seems to have dropped out of the plot.
Yeah. I mean, Paris saw Helen and everything else just, yeah. Food, duty, everything else just sort of, took a walk on the, yeah.
This is not a rape, though.
No.
Helen is in fact, Helen is the one who makes it all possible.
Aliki.
I'm afraid a proper patriarchal definition of rape, and I'm not just being sarcastic here, was taking a woman from her lawful man, and not what we would call rape, non-consensual.
That was the sense in which I was using it.
Well, I mean,
I suppose he has, yes.
Yeah.
If you say she had no agency.
Yeah, facilitating her escape from her lawful man kind of works the same, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm just wondering if she's been pondering this for a while, or just sort of like, yeah, whoever comes. No, but it doesn't seem like it. It just, yeah. Anyway, Rachael.
I mean, the way this seems played is that it's not the first time that this has happened necessarily. I mean, with Theseus, like they leave it, there's room left to, make the audience suspicious as to whether this is just something she does and this is part of her personality, or, because of Theseus in the past, or, if that's legitimate or not, depending on how production wants to play it. Just what colors they want to give it, because there's a lot of moving parts, I think, with her that you could mess with, and with these scenes as well. And that there might be, I feel like there was meant to be some sort of comedy and cuckoldry joke there, and just that there's not a lot of sincerity, maybe in the original intent, but that you could do something a lot different with it now.
Yeah. Well, there is also like Thersites commentary going, yes, let's there are lots of horns here. I mean, he's so unsubtle. Sort of, all that thing about, hey, we better just like lay horn scratchings or something, horn scrapings.
Something like that.
Yeah, Aliki.
I mean, I think it's possible that they're just an obviously terrible match, that Menelaus that she's good enough at pretending to be happy with Menelaus to fool Menelaus, but she isn't fooling anybody else. Everybody else can see her looking for a way out.
Yeah. But they also have a child, but who doesn't appear at this point? Anyway, that's irrelevant. That's just mythology things. We don't care at this point. Anyway, Act 2, Scene 1. I think what I'm going to do is ask. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Troilus and Cressida.
Fair Cressida, by the honor of my birth, as I am Hector's brother, Priam's son, and Troilus best beloved of Hecuba, as I love arms and soldiers, I protest thy beauty lives enshrined here in my breast.
As I am Calchas' daughter Cressida, high priest to Pallas, that she that patrons Troy, now sent unto the Delphian oracle to know what shall betide Prince Paris' voyage. I hold the love of Troilus dearer far than to be queen of Asia.
Daughter to Calchas and the pride of Troy, plight me your hand and heart.
Fair heaven, I do. Will Troilus in exchange grant me his too?
Yes, and fast sealed, you gods your anger wreak on him or her that first this union break.
So protests Cressida. Wretched may they die that twixt our souls these holy bands untie. Enter Margaretan, one of Priam's youngest sons.
My brother Troilus, we have news from Greece. Prince Paris is returned.
And with a prize?
Asia affords none such.
What? Is she worth our aunt Hesione?
Or what might be her name?
Helen of Sparta.
Helen's name hath scarce been heard in Troy.
But now her fame will be eternized, for a face more fair sun never shone on, nor the earth ne'er bare. Why stay you here? By this Paris and she are landed in the port of Tenedos. There Priam, Hecuba, Hector, all Troy meets the midway to attend the Spartan queen.
In that fair train my Cressida shall be seen, of rarer beauty than the Spartan queen.
And, well, presumably they don't exit because more people enter. Yes, Act 2, Scene 2. I'm just wondering if we should run these scenes together or not, but yeah, we can run them together. We're grown-ups, we can handle this. It's fine. Act 2, Scene 2. A flourish, enter at one door Priam, Hecuba, Hector, Troilus, and so on and so forth. And at the other, Paris, Helen, Aeneas, Antenor, and everybody else who is on that ship coming from Sparta to Troy.
What earth, what all mortality can in the height of our inventions find to add to Helena's welcome? Troy shall yield her. Should Pallas, patroness of Troy, descend, Priam and Priam's wife and Priam's son could not afford her godhead more applause than amply we bestow on Helena.
We count you in the number of our daughters, nor can we do Queen Helen greater honour.
I was not forward to have Paris sent, but being returned thou'rt welcome. I desired not to have bright Helen brought, but being landed, Hector proclaims himself her champion gainst all the world, and he shall guard thee safe despite all opposition.
Hector's word is oracle, he'll seal it with his sword, and now my turn comes to bid Helen welcome. You're no stranger here, this is your Troy, Priam your father, and this queen your mother. These be your valiant brothers, all your friends. Why should a tear fall from these heavenly eyes, being thus round and girt with your allies?
I am I know not where, nor amongst whom. I know no creature that I see save yon. I have left my king, my brothers, subjects, friends, for strangers. Who should they forsake me now? I have no husband, father, brother near.
Have you not all these? Is not Paris here? Hark, how the people having Helen seen applaud the rival of the Spartan queen, and millions that your coming have attended. Amazed swear some goddess is descended.
No way you can your eyes or body turn, but where you walk the priest shall incense burn.
The sacrificed beasts the ground shall beat, and bright religious fire the altars heat.
Nor fear the bruit of war or threatening steel. United Greece we value not.
Alone by Hector is this town well manned. He like an army against Greece shall stand.
And who would fear for such a royal wife to set the universal world at strife? Bright Helen's name shall live and ne'er have end, when all the world about you shall contend.
Be as he may, since we are gone thus far, proceed we will in spite of threatened war, hazard and dread. Both these we nothing hold, so long as Paris we may thus enfold.
My father, mother, brother, sisters, all Ilium and Troy in pomp majestical shall solemnize our nuptials. Let that day in which we espouse the beauteous Helen be held a holy day, a day of joy forever in the calendars of Troy.
It shall be so. We have already sent our high priest Calchas to the oracle at Delphos to return us the success and a true notice of our future wars. Whilst we expect his coming, be it our care the Spartans' second nuptials to prepare.
And exit. That was our last scene for today. This can't possibly go wrong. I mean, just yeah. I find it interesting that Hector is the only one who has listened to Cassandra, and also the only one who actually sort of, how do you call it, sees the possible consequences of this as a sort of political act as well as the, yeah. Any thoughts, Elizabeth?
Just to second what Helen said, the first act seemed to be all about Hesione, and now she just barely got one mention in the second act so far. But I think that we've just recently done Jasper Heywood's Troilus, and it's just kind of turned the world upside down for me, because I was like, oh, but Troy's been, no spoilers, but Troy's been, and now it's all like at the beginning and it's still like standing, and so I'm just thinking like, oh, the tragedy is coming and it's kind of impending doom. We've got this sense of like Lord of the Rings, one great doom is coming upon us all. And I kind of got a sense of that, even though we've got these romantic moments between Helen and Paris. I just feel like that doom is encroaching. Maybe that's because of the last text we did, maybe.
Yeah, Sarah, just a little bit.
Well, yeah, okay. It might be in part because of the text we did yesterday, but like I think you're right though, Elizabeth. It's like this play is giving a really human context to all these characters who we know about from so many different sources, but they're always these kind of distant, the most beautiful woman, the most heroic man, blah, blah, blah. But it's bringing them to life in a really three-dimensional and human way. And I actually really love Hector. I love the fact that Hector is like, oh man, this is not good. But yeah, okay, it's happened now. So I'm with you, bro. Because Hector is kind of traditionally, this great warrior, and he meets this end, and it's kind of like, well, yeah, there's so many great warriors, aren't there? There's so many heroes in this story on both sides, and yeah, it's kind of sad that Hector, spoilers, that Hector buys it in the myth. Who knows, he might not in this version, but he's kind of one of many, whereas here I'm actually now like, oh mate, Hector, yeah, this story, I'm emotionally invested in him as a character, as a human, and knowing the vague outline of the myth and what's going to happen to him, it gives it more pathos, because he is actually a real person in this version of the story, and Helen's a real person, and it's kind of, yeah, it's very satisfying.
Aliki, yeah.
I've always been a Hector fan, but what I really got out of this version was the sense of somebody who's done war before. And he's like, there's a lot of dying and a lot of pain, and it's just pretty horrible. Can we just not do it?
Yeah. Well, but also his father is experienced enough also, but then Sarah goes, yeah, but actually my sister thing, yeah, it's interesting how that shifts because of Paris. Sort of, he needs to earn his sort of, I don't know, not right to like first blood kind of thing, but yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, I didn't. I as a kid, I used to love, Ulysses and all those guys, and have, growing up, I'm like, wait, no, that was just creepy. That was wrong. And sort of, the more I read these myths with you and with others, I find myself liking Andromache and Hecuba and all these sort of strong women as well, and who don't really get much of a say here. I mean, sort of things are happening to them, whereas Helen actually makes things happen here. So yeah, and Hector is obviously sort of, the responsible traditional sort of, well, not adult in the room because they're all adults, but he's the one with the sort of, brains of the operation, and everyone else is swept away by Helen and sort of Helen. And then Sarah.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to think about whether it is possible to show this to an audience who doesn't know how it ends. Now, I don't think in today that it is, because anybody who is going to actually buy a ticket to see this play is going to know how it ends. I don't know about the period in which it was first shown, but I would think, in fact, that they probably knew more than we did, because because school was classics.
I was going to say, but not everyone went to school, therefore you would
not
get
everybody
sort of,
went to school, but I think a fair enough proportion of the audience would have had some schooling, and the others would have had the ballads and the painted cloths and the tapestry, and they would have seen the story, they would have heard the story. I think you have to assume with this play that everybody knows the end. So all the glad, confident morning stuff is, he doesn't need to have Cassandra actually talking doom, though it's always good to see her, but he doesn't need Cassandra, because in fact the audience will be their own Cassandras.
Yeah. And sort of, I guess also you could, like, the way I'm thinking about this is sort of the equivalent of Rocky Horror, kind of, where, Rocky is just sort of, that you have sort of, I don't know who Frankenfurter would be in this, but anyway, that would just be weird. Anyway, yes, weird analogies. Please, someone save me from myself. And commentary. Any other thoughts? I mean, we have a lot of time for final thoughts, so yes. Sort of, yes. Elizabeth.
I don't know. It's because I did the Aeneid for my GCSE Latin. I wanted more Aeneas. He was there, but he didn't say anything a lot. So I was just like, oh, it would have been nice to hear from him a little bit more. And he comes out quite strong in the beginning, but then towards the middle, it's just a little bit quiet. It's part of the entourage.
We do get more of him because he is considered the sort of, this sort of, founding father of Rome, and then founding father of England, Britain as we know it, kind of thing. Well, as they knew it. I don't know as we know it. Yes. Rachael.
I was just going to say that so far I like this better than the other age plays. I think Helen kept saying before that we needed to hold out to the Iron Age because this is where it got really good, and it feels like there's the other plays were so much like every act would have some sort of theme and the stories would be connected by that theme, but this one is, I think, purely about the story and it about the, so there's so much to follow. Like it's more there's one story really, so it's easier for me to follow. And I really love that line in the last thing where it's like, no way you can your eyes or body turn, but where you walk, the priest shall incense burn. That's such a compliment. Damn.
Yeah, and also you kind of have that thing of, well, you know, you're here, you can't go anywhere, yeah, which is kind of, yeah, it's almost like they didn't know, she didn't know what she was buying into, kind of thing, which is kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we.
Yes, she makes a big play for sympathy. Oh, here I am, poor me, all alone, no father, brother, or friends anywhere. Poor me. And so they all go about saying, oh, we're your new family, we're your new friends. We all love you, we think you're wonderful, which is exactly what she was wanting to hear. The word narcissists comes to mind. But there you go.
Well, I think that could be one interpretation, though. I don't know if Aliki is going to disagree with me. So maybe, yeah.
I was enjoying Sarah's interpretation of Helen as a potentially really complex character with a great deal of interiority, but I'm afraid I'm more of our Helen's mind. That line when the Trojans arrived, and she's like, but I haven't washed my hair, and everybody says I'm beautiful. They tell everyone I'm beautiful.
And cut the skirt and so on, and radiant beauty and all that. That was
I
such
could
a weird
see her on
line.
Instagram.
Yeah, definitely has a profile on Instagram. Sarah.
I'm going to stick up for her here because I could see her on Instagram too. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that she isn't a bit of a Becky Sharp, because yeah, absolutely, I'm sure she is. But none of that stops her from having any interiority. People on Instagram have interiority. My point.
You say.
Yes, they do. It might be buried deep sometimes, but it's there. But my point was more about the playwright rather than her as a character. You know, the majority of people who write about her, you know, well, they do make the Instagram joke. It's like, yeah, okay, she's beautiful, she's not very deep. Whereas this playwright is actually bothering to dig deeper and to flesh her out and to say, right, actually, what is going on beneath the surface? And that's the thing, you know, the fact that we're talking about her like she's a real person is a tribute to the playwright, because he's made her into a real person. And that, I think, is the skill of this play, you know, for taking these people who are, you know, they're so part of the culture. I do take the point that Helen made earlier that, you know, there might be people now who don't necessarily know the plot, but like most people do. And this is taking this story with these really kind of iconic but distant figures and making them into humans.
Yeah, and also kind of, I just like the fact that Paris is so, well, I mean, he's not nice in any of the versions that like exist. In all versions, he's not very smart and sort of, you know, if he's the equivalent of an Instagram sort of celebrity, then he kind of, yeah, it's the power couple thing, isn't it? Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely, the Instagram power couple. The other thing that's just occurred to me to say, although this is a bit of a digression, but we seem to have time for it, is it occurred to me earlier when we were having that little debate about, oh, you know, Helen, when she's really miffed with Menelaus, is it because she's had all these men and you know, wanting her, and then you know, the one she picked is the one that, you know, then wants to go off and leave her. It then occurred to me afterwards that, like, actually maybe that was probably why she married him, because she'd had all these men after her ever since she was God knows how young, telling her she was beautiful, wanting her. the reason why she picked Menelaus was probably because he was the one who wasn't that bothered. You know, it was probably a real relief. And so she marries him, and then she has to live with the consequences. And it's like in this play, she suddenly realizes what the consequences are. Now, that is a bit of a digression. That's a flight of fancy. But the point is, this play prompted that flight of fancy. This play prompted me to think along those lines. It prompted me to think of her as a real person with a backstory, and it started to make me wonder about what her motivation was for marrying this guy in the first place. And that, I don't think I've ever had that thought about Helen before. You know, so ta-da! That's a testament to this play.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Helen?
The only person, this is a completely different tack. The only person that is consistently throwing responsibility for anything that could or may go wrong on the gods is Paris, who, you know, it's entirely their fault for giving me the apple and making me choose. Unlike the earlier metals plays, the age of gold, silver, and brass, we don't have constant godly interference. Unlike the Iliad, where the gods seem to be constantly popping up and changing the fate of humans. So far, this is all human. There has been no divine intervention at all, except in the apple business. And that's in the past. Now, I like that.
Aliki.
I've always found the gods.
Yeah, I was just going to agree. And even the people who have a mythological component, Oenone or Castor or Pollux, I don't remember, or, you know, aren't acting like, well, I suppose Helen as well, who are part divine. I mean, it's either, I always get it mixed up, whether it's Castor and Pollux who are demigods or Helen and one of the brothers. But anyway, they're not appearing as semi-divine beings at all. They're entirely human.
Yeah, technically it's both of them. I think it's Helen and the two guys who are twins with each. Yeah, so because they're supposedly hatched out of an egg or something. And also, you know, it's Clytemnestra who hasn't appeared yet. So
who is Helen's sister?
Yes. Because nothing can go wrong if you marry sisters to brothers. Anyway, it's just, anyway. Yeah.
Imagine being Clytemnestra and having Helen as your sister and always being not the most beautiful woman in the world.
I have always loved Clytemnestra, and that's part of the reason. I identify with her deeply.
Yeah, she's fascinating also, though she's not appeared here.
Let's talk about another character altogether. Oops.
Well, I think she does appear later, if I'm not mistaken, though.
Part two.
Part two, yes, part two. Spoilers. Spoilers, the war happens. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any, well, because we've talked a lot about Helen, but then sort of Paris's motivation for going is sort of like, I want to, it's not like he has a gap here. It's sort of like, more like, well, the gods told me this beautiful woman would be waiting for me on the shores of Sparta or whatever. That's his excuse. But then the only level-headed one seems to be Hector and a bit Thersites, though Thersites seems to be sort of, I don't know, misogynistic and basically anti-human. I don't know. Thersites is fascinating, having seen the Thersites version that we did, I don't know when. Yeah, he's not as much of a joker as he was in that one.
He fought a snail, didn't he?
I believe so.
On his return from Troy.
Snails are
I think
deadly
we've
things.
done him fighting a snail.
Didn't Aliki have the
Thersites?
And it was very famous.
Yes, Aliki made the papier-mâché snail. Although it might be sort of, you know, live. We don't know if it's a live snail or a papier-mâché snail that happens.
What was the name of that play?
Thersites.
It is
Right.
Thersites, but I think that's a different Thersites.
to be fair, it might be sort of, PTSD makes you do weird things. So if you think about it, psychologically
I'm not so
yeah.
sure it was, but yeah. Anyway, he because he does say he's back from the wars of Troy. Another Greek of the same name.
Yeah.
No relation.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the what do you call it? Well, actually, no, I shouldn't spoil it for later. But it's like sort of later on, they kind of add more sort of sarcastic clown characters. So I don't know if that's an evolution in acting or sort of, yeah. Anyway, yes, that's just me performing, commenting on weird things that we've not done yet. Yeah. Any thoughts on sort of, because we've talked a lot about Helen. What about the other people in the play? Because Priam was also there as
Priam was also there. That's what it should say on his dramatis personae, who is also there.
The thing is, he's the one who sort of supports Paris leaving, which is kind of like, you'd expect him to listen to Hector rather than Paris, if you think about it. I don't know. Sarah.
Yeah, but he opens the play with a kind of, ooh, let's all go to war speech. So he's going to favor the son who confirmation bias. He's gonna favor the son who shares his opinion, or at least gives him as an excuse for taking things in the direction that he wants to take them. I mean, yeah, theoretically he would listen to Hector, but he's clearly not that. I was talking earlier in the chat about the fact that Hector is the emotionally intelligent one. I mean, Priam clearly isn't. From his very first speech, he's not. So yeah, it might not make sense from a statesman point of view to listen to Paris, but in terms of the character as he's set up right at the beginning of the play, it makes psychological sense that he would follow Paris or support Paris.
Well, also, if Paris is younger, he might be like, hey, have an opportunity, go do things. Sorry, Elizabeth.
Yeah, at the beginning of Act 2, Scene 1, there was a stage direction I thought you were going to quack, because we had this whole thing between Troilus and Cressida, which I thought was a nice interlude. I thought it was a very, very nice interlude. And I love the line, so protest Cressida, wretched may they die, that twixt our souls these holy bands untie. I like the way that whole thing with Troilus and Cressida happens. I just wish it was longer. I just thought it was such a short interaction before Margaretan turns up.
Yeah.
So, and those two characters, I was wondering if, even though at that time it would have been, people would have really known about the duck play. And
yeah, probably, yeah.
Chaucer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, Aliki, did you have another thought?
Yeah, I think the B plot would have been recognized as well. It was fairly well known. Because, as we've said, Helen is frequently hard to sympathize with when written, and Paris is always obnoxious. So you want some young lovers you can actually care about in the story.
So when they come on, everyone goes, yay!
Because they're not going to die horribly. Yeah, no spoilers. Sorry, Helen.
I think one of the reasons that we're talking a lot about Helen and not so much about the other characters is that the other characters are pretty much living up to our expectations of them. Hector is brave and sensible. Troilus is brave and stupid. The young lovers think that love is the only thing that matters. Hecuba doesn't say much, but isn't enjoying life very tremendously, because her plan to get Paris well out of the kingdom has failed. And everybody else is, Menelaus is certain of his wife's chastity and her love and everything else, and is deluded. We haven't met the rest of the Greeks, but no doubt, and Thersites is railing. So, I mean, it was the thing that was new to us, and the reason we talked about her was the Helen. Because we know all the others.
Yeah, that's quite true. And also well, for example, I think it's also an opportunity to see how, well, because in the previous age plays, we kind of didn't get Heywood showing off sort of quite as much, like, describing sort of silver-tressed Hecuba, or sort of he didn't have so much range. He didn't go for how do you call it, love speeches and all that stuff. He didn't have this kind of war versus love, war versus peace, private versus public thing going on. He just had the gods and everyone else sort of gods versus mortals kind of thing. So yeah, and I guess also, talking about public versus private, we haven't talked about that a lot. Like, there are a lot of the sides in this sort of giving interiority to Helen and stuff. So, but you don't really get insight to any other character, I guess, in that way. Though I don't know how much insight you can get into Paris, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Any other thoughts? Alan, you haven't spoken much about this, but I don't know if that's because...
No, I mean, I think, quite honestly, a lot's been said. I take the point Rachael and Helen were making, that at least this is a refreshing change from the the 3 previous metallic plays that we've done, because we're not dealing with gods behaving badly, merely mythicized humans. And I think there is also the point that Helen is the only one who actually does seem to have any sort of third dimension. The rest really are cardboard cutouts. There's some nice language in it, but I'm not that enthused. But I'm certainly more engaged with this than I was with the previous metallic plays, because I just found them a complete turn off.
Oh. The Amphitryon story was good in silver.
I maybe was just not the right frame of mind for us at the time, Helen. But they just didn't do anything for me when we went through them. They just seemed to be almost interminable.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I think it's very important to read them an act at a time, which we didn't.
No, I think we tried to cram too much in, and trying to do these in a performance. I think, quite honestly, if you tried to do any of the age plays as an evening of theatre, which for 20,000 word play is about the right length for an evening of theatre, I'm not sure how many people you get booking for the rest of the season.
To be fair, one of them, I think it was the Hercules one, which was probably silver. Well, you did get pyrotechnics and cool monsters coming on and stuff. So there's everything,
Yeah, so you come out whistling the special effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the words. And I'm afraid I'm more a words man than the spectacles.
I think also Elizabeth had a thought possibly, but I don't know if that has been put aside.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with Alan that I did find the metallic plays a bit of a slog, bit of a long slog. I just kind of missed Lily. When we were doing the Heywood, I was like, oh, I miss Lily, I miss Galatea, I miss all those pastoral sort of, with all the nymphs and the creatures and stuff like that. I kind of just agree with Alan, really, that they were challenging. But this one feels, maybe because of yesterday, because we did Troilus, this one feels much easier going. Not necessarily in content, but in expression.
And I guess sort of they kind of, well, this is, as Helen pointed out, it was one story, whereas it just jumps between the two camps basically, like sort of like going, I guess Team Jacob, Team Edward, if you want to reduce it to that. But yeah, whereas the previous ones were kind of not all over the place, but there wasn't a central plot line. It was more like, here is a compilation of all the myths we know up to this point. And which is basically, it's almost like sort of Heywood sharpening his teeth and sort of preparing an audience for this play, which kind of is a bit weird. I don't know if you would do that for this kind of thing. Elizabeth, again.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I do applaud Heywood for his epic thinking, because the plays are broad and the narrative that they cover is very broad, and there's quite a few of them, and they do have this kind of connecting theme through them. So I do think that it's a very, very good idea on paper, but just maybe harder to execute than one night of theatre might allow.
Yeah. Well, also because this one is about humans. We understand sort of, and there has been there have been a lot of plays, media in any form about Troy. So even if we don't fully get all the words, we know what the story, how it ends, and we can sympathize. Whereas it's hard to sympathize with, for example, Zeus killing people for no apparent reason, or sort of going, oh, sexy lady, I shall assail her, which is not exactly what happened, but I mean, not in so many words, but yeah,
well, close enough.
Yeah.
And many times. I mean, he was a repeat offender.
Yes.
I mean, as soon as a woman walked on the stage, you thought, oh God, he's going to be at it again.
That's pretty much Zeus in all mythology. Almost. Aliki?
Yeah, but in the Golden Age play, he wasn't even meant to be a god yet. He ascended to godhead, I think, in the second play. So, you feel quite differently about a god transforming himself into supernatural things and persuading women, because, or raping them outright, because gods are, gods. And you can kind of imagine that if confronted with one, you might go, oh, all right, well, then let's get it over with. Because there isn't much you can do about it, I'm sorry, it's a horrible thing to say. But what I'm saying is, it's one thing in mythology when it was made into a human man and a king, and like literally 3 or 4 scenes in a row, I think we had, ooh, cute lady, how am I going to get into her pants? And then towards the end of the play, it was, oh, Ganymede, you're great, come along with me. You just thought,
pretty much, but with this one, I think also kind of by this point, it's not like you get the morals shifting, because obviously they kind of have they still think that rape is bad, blah blah blah, but or at least we do, and it's it's sort of easier to sympathize with people who get and to understand the characters, I think. Anyway, if there are any other thoughts on this? Rachael is looking at the camera tentatively. Okay, no other thoughts. Well, thank you all for reading today, and he's knowing Menelaus cheese. Have a good one.